Cincinnati's a boxing town. It all started a long time ago when Cincinnati still had strong downtown neighborhoods. I look at old photographs of the Bottoms, the West End, and over the Rhine, and I can remember my old man telling me about the great boxers in those old neighborhoods.
Boxing always came from depressed areas. In the heyday, if you go back to when people emigrated, and they emigrated to New York because that's where Ellis Island was, and you had blocks of Jewish people and Irish and Italian and German and Polish, and they were territorial. And as Billy said, there must have been 50 gyms around at that time because there wasn't any television. And the kids, some of them took other names. Some Jewish boys took Irish names, some Italians took Jewish names because they didn't want their parents to know they were boxing.
It was in this period the first notable Cincinnati boxer emerged out of the immigrants of Cincinnati. He was a German-American, Freddie Miller, from over the Rhine. Little known outside of boxing circles, Miller, a featherweight champion of the world from 1927 to 1940, was the product of the large number of inner-city gyms in Cincinnati and the huge popularity of the sport around 1900.
The Cincinnati Cobra. The most famous boxer Cincinnati ever produced was Ezzard Charles.
As a small boy, he was like any other bored inner-city kid. One day in 1932, hanging around the neighborhood waiting for something to happen, a famous Cuban boxer rode up in a fancy open car, wearing fancy clothes and waving to everybody. He was a famous Cuban boxer whose ring name, Kid Chocolate. Young Ezra didn't know or care about Kid Chocolate's upcoming bout at Music Hall with Johnny Farr. In the early 70s, a boxing coach at the Emmanuel Center on Ray Street showed up at the gym one day for work. As he headed in the front door of the center across from Washington Park, there were kids fighting on the street.
I went down to the Emmanuel Community Center in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I had a street fight out there. And my coach, he wasn't my coach then, but he told us that if we're going to fight, come up to the gym. And we went in the gym and we boxed it, and I liked it, and I started boxing.
One of the most ferocious fighters ever to earn a world title belt from Cincinnati. His name was Aaron Pryor.
And a former heavyweight champion, ladies and gentlemen, the challenger, Tony TNT Cole.
He was in there to do his job, and I was in there to do my job. And, you know, around the 7th or 8th round, everything started changing for me prior to not giving up. And we've been working on this shot, just throw this certain punch in training every day. And my trainer, which was Aaron Snowwell, he was wanting me to turn my right hook over. Bam! Just turn it. I was having problems doing it in training. I was perfecting it, you know, a lot in training. But actually I had to perfect that same punch when it came down to it. And I perfected it at the right time, and I became the IBF bantamweight champion of the world.
The most recent meteoric boxing talent out of Cincinnati is Adrian "the Problem" Broner. Like many of his predecessors from Cincinnati, Broner started out as a lightweight and then moved up weight classes to his current welterweight status.
And my trust in Adrian, I think Adrian will be a world champion again, representing Cincinnati.
He's a phenomenal guy. He's a good person outside the ring as well as inside the ring. You know, unfortunately, inside that ring, you just got to be the meanest individual that, you know, the world wouldn't want to see. So the little brag talking that he does, you know, he do that to build his confidence up. He do that to put fear onto the opponent.
When we go to other cities, they recognize it, and people in the boxing game understand a talent when they see it, and that's what we have, and we have more than one. These guys that are coming behind Adrian are going to do a great job.
these generations that you're handing this back to, you don't know the impact that it'll have. And all we can do is continue to give and see where it ends up.